Growing up, I wasn't one of those kids who had a lot of friends. I had kids I went fishing with or kids I played sports with, but we were never close friends. It was only at university that I developed a real strong friendship. Grant and I were both students. I was in the mechanical and civil engineering department and Grant was in the geology department. We met, not through our studies, but through rugby. We both played for the Virginia team, him as a giant lock and me as a flanker. Our friendship began during a game that turned into a real fight. It started when an opposing player took a swing at Grant, and I grabbed him, pulled him away from Grant and gave him a little chin rub for causing trouble, and that's when the fight started. Everyone was out in force, young and old, fists were flying, bodies were everywhere. After the game, Grant came over, threw his monstrous arm over my shoulder and thanked me for sticking up for him. Later, in the clubhouse, we pounced on each other and completely wrote ourselves off. It was the beginning of a very close friendship that lasted a long time. After graduation, I took the easy road by getting a position in Wellington with the Ministry of Works as a road and bridge engineer. I say it was easy because it meant I would become a civil servant with all the benefits that entails. Grant, on the other hand, decided to get a degree and go abroad, eventually ending up in South Africa, where he made a real fortune mining diamonds. I, on the other hand, continued to work as a civil servant, slowly working my way up the ladder. Grant and I were complete opposites. He was dynamic and driven, and I was a quiet and calm worker who was retiring. I met the love of my life, Ashley Godin, at a prize-giving dinner at the rugby club. The club had its own women's netball team and we would sometimes join her at events such as prize giving. Ashley, who had recently moved to Wellington to take up a research position at DSIR, joined the netball team to make friends. I spotted her from across the room, and I was drawn to her like the proverbial moth to the flame. She was there with a bunch of her friends having a great time. I managed to sneak in and we ended up dancing. It was the beginning of a very brief courtship. Ashley was an incredibly outgoing and friendly person. They say opposites attract. Well, in a nutshell, we were alike. 12 months later, we got married and started our lives together. It was a typical marriage. We both worked long, tedious hours working our butts off trying to put together a mortgage for our first home. We chose a house in one of Wellington's outer seaside suburbs, Lyle Bay, where our children, Sylvia and Clive, were born. We had barely moved in when suddenly Grant returned from South Africa, bringing his gorgeous bride Saskia with him. He had made a fortune and decided to return to NZ and put his wealth to good use. They stayed with us while they looked for a suitable house. Fortunately, they quickly found a suitable house in neighboring Island Bay. Saskia and Ashley became fast friends and were inseparable. Grant bought a small engineering business specializing in earth-moving equipment repair. Grant, being Grant, turned this fledgling business into a veritable gold mine. Saskia became pregnant with their first and only child. When our children got older and wanted to be on their own, we decided to build an extension to the house as it was a bit cramped. When Grant found out about it, he immediately rushed to help, thinking I needed help. We spent hours building that extension. Every weekend and late evenings after work we worked long and hard, although always accompanied by a few beers to finish the job. I learned a lot from him. It was a real team effort that strengthened an already strong friendship. I learned a lot about Grant. He definitely liked being the boss. It was in his nature, and I didn't mind. He made the right decisions. I also learned that we made a good team, which I suppose shouldn't have surprised me. Around the same time, Saskia found a job selling real estate, and Grant was quickly losing interest in his business. He had done his best and turned around a failing business, but now that it was operating successfully, he was bored. The house sat on the market for less than a month before it was sold for a whopping profit. I'd be lying if I didn't say I was slightly jealous, well, envious anyway. He worked hard and deserved it. He decided he needed a change and went back to mining. He found a contract job in Australia, which didn't make Saskia happy at all. She was happy and didn't want him to leave. She ended up spending a lot of time at our house crying on Ashley's shoulder. He'd been gone for months, and because of Saskia's growing frustration with the state of affairs, he had to come home if he wanted to save his marriage. He didn't just come home, he came back with a plan. He returned home with a burning desire to become a grape grower. Saskia was stunned, but since he was on a mission, it didn't take him long to convince her to join the team. They put their condo up for sale, and thanks to Saskia being in the game, it sold quickly and they left. It was a surprise to me when he sent his family to Otago. There was no history of grape growing in that region. If he had said Marlborough, I would have thought it made sense, but Central Otago? But you can't argue with Grant if he had an idea in his head and brought in a piece of land he hadn't seen. They left with plans to plant the first grapes in Central Otago. With his thoughts and a plan, well, or the beginnings of a plan, he was going to set the world on fire and become a world-class grape grower. It became his dream, and as with everything he did, he took on the task with great enthusiasm. He was brave, fearless, it was something new for the region, it was not a well-known wine region, but he had a dream and nothing could stand in his way. With his set goal and his attitude of never giving up, it was always going to be uncontested. But what came as a shock to me was a sly phone call asking if I could take time off work to come and help him with the construction. I chuckled to myself, he may have had a plan, but he still needed help, and his ego was hurt by having to ask for help. With a quick word with Ashley, we got the kids together for a 6-week Christmas vacation so I could help him design and build a house. It was a fun 6 weeks. The kids got along great with Grant and Saskia, they were sort of unofficial godparents. It was hard work, we labored hard again and started building the house, drawing up the plans and laying the foundation. In the evenings, as soon as the light disappeared, we planted grapes. My main goal was to create a wind-assisted irrigation system. It was a new approach to solving a real problem. Over the next year, I came here several times to help with the construction. He finally got exactly what he wanted, a huge ramshackle house built from local logs and stone. It was a huge grand monstrosity that stood out even in this neighborhood, and the entrance was taken straight from House and Garden magazine. Big powerful stone columns, monstrously huge doors opening into a wide foyer. You could easily make a Hollywood movie in here. His plan was not only to make the vineyard a success, he wanted it to be a home away from home where guests could come, taste the wine and stay in stylish rooms, tour the vineyard and see how the wine was made. We lost touch for a couple years while he focused on building his business and becoming a world-class winemaker. We had kids to raise and Ashley went back to work. Work, kids, and their needs. It took up all of our time, so we didn't see Grant and Saskia for long periods of time. We came together when our daughter Sylvia enrolled at Lincoln University in Canterbury. God knows why she chose agriculture, but there you go. Clive left the nest next, followed by their son Glenn. Saskia looked after Sylvia like a mother hen and did a great job for us. God knows how many hours she spent on the road picking her up from school and ferrying her back and forth so she could spend weekends at their house, and we will be forever grateful to her for getting through that period unscathed. For my 50th birthday, Ashley decided to throw a huge party, and of course Grant and Saskia came to visit. It was a sort of joyous reunion that led to us spending time together and vacationing at each other's houses, even though their house was much more luxurious than ours. Ashley fell in love with it, and so we spent most of our travels together. It wasn't long after that everything went downhill. Saskia. Oh, sweet Saskia, she was a wild thing and loved to drive. She had a little Triumph Spitfire that really suited her personality, she was a girl racer. I hated going anywhere with her because she was never happy unless her foot was on the floor. The only thing that bothered me was picking up Sylvie, even though Sylvie assured me she never went fast with her in the car, but it was a hell of a lot different when I was in the car and she took great pleasure in scaring the hell out of me. In retrospect, it seems inevitable, but that doesn't negate the tragedy. One day, racing down the winding windy roads of Central Otago, she was involved in a fatal accident. If there's one good thing, it's that she would have died quickly. Grant was in total disarray after the crash. He was wiping his eyes while telling us the news over the phone. We immediately jumped into the plane and flew down. When we arrived, he was drunk and sobbing heartily. Ashley put her arms around him, comforting him. He poured me a drink and we sat on the deck and drank the hell out of it. Ashley spent the night cleaning up and preparing for the mad rush of people expected tomorrow. When I finally crawled into bed, Ashley was still awake and sobbing quietly. God, what a mess, honey, he's not doing well. You're going to have to be strong tomorrow, you have to pull yourself together. The day started with Ashley concentrating on cooking and getting ready for the reception. I went to the police station and arranged for the car to be removed and disposed of. Jesus, what a wreck, it was smashed beyond recognition. I found a specialized tow truck that was interested enough to pick it up. Back at the house, Ashley had put out food, and there was a steady stream of people wanting to offer Grant condolences and promises of help. He wasn't quite catatonic, but he was barely functioning. That night when everyone left, it was just Grant, his son Glenn and us. Ashley made dinner but it was gloomy. We tried to get Grant to open up and talk but he was lost, completely immersed in his all-consuming grief. This was a side of him we had never seen before, a testament to how much he loved her. He rejected our attempts to talk to him about what he was going to do and walked away, leaving us to talk. His son was very worried. He was studying architecture at Massey University in Hamilton and was deeply immersed in his studies. He couldn't afford too much free time. The funeral was well attended. Grant certainly made an impact on the local community. He was always a simple-hearted guy who was willing to give you the shirt off his back. In the days following the funeral he became very sullen and gloomy, especially after his son left to go to university. Ashley and I were worried. This was worse than just grief. This was depression in its worst form. We decided it would be best if he came back to Wellington and stayed with us for a while. It wasn't easy to convince him, and it took a lot of effort, but in the end Ashley's chicken-like manner convinced him that it made sense. So after arranging for one of the vineyard workers to take over, Grant flew back to Wellington with us. It was incredibly sad to see him like that. He's always been such a positive guy and here he is moping around the house with Ashley waiting impatiently for him. As much as I loved him, he was driving me crazy. I could see that Ashley wanted to take care of him, but she was tired of it too. We both worked, and after work we would walk into the house and find it a mess and nothing done. I tried to talk to him, but it was difficult. I didn't want to hurt him, I just wanted him to get his head out of his ass and do something. 2 weeks passed and we were saved. When we got home, we found him packing. It was like a switch had flicked, and to this day I don't know what made him do it, but he hugged us both and exclaimed, "Guys, thanks for taking care of me, but I need to get back to work. If I sit here much longer I'm going to go crazy." Ashley and I danced with joy as we drove him to the airport. Damn, it was great to have our house back, no more clutter, and Ashley was especially glad he didn't have to run after it. Ashley called and talked to him every night, and he did look better. Being back in the vineyard and the mountains of work had made him feel invigorated. The next month was a long weekend and Ashley offered to fly up to visit her. We both took the extra vacation days and flew. The weather was amazing as we drove up to the vineyard. The scenery in this region is amazing, with alpine scenery and clear blue skies, just breathtaking, and this was one of those days. Ash shook her head in bewilderment, as she often did when traveling. "Holy moly, honey, it's an amazing sight, isn't it?" Grant greeted us with a warm hug, but when we stepped inside, Ashley nearly died. The place was a pigsty. There were dishes piled up in the kitchen, leftovers lying everywhere, and it looked like he hadn't done a single bit of housework since he'd gotten back. He apologized, though, mumbling that he'd been busy in the vineyard. Ashley rolled up her sleeves and got to work. I had no choice but to help. Grant would make excuses for what he needed to do and then disappear. As soon as he was out the door, Ashley threw herself into my arms. "God, what the hell? There isn't a single square inch of free bench space here and the floor is sticky to walk on." I nodded. "That's fucking disgusting. How can he live like that?" She shrugged. "It just doesn't make sense. He's never been like this before. I understand that he's grieving, but damn, it's just awful." It took the rest of the day to get everything relatively clean. Grant came back just before dinner and didn't even say thank you. Everything had gone smoothly. He chatted during dinner, but it was weird that he kept going back to what he'd told us just a few minutes ago. Ashley and I looked back and forth, wondering what was going on. We left Monday afternoon and he cried on Ashley's shoulder and hugged me. "I'm going to miss you too," he muttered. Back home, Ashley was more worried than ever. She called him every night, but he was still the same, distant and incoherent. Ashley figured he'd been drinking. Thursday night I got home a little later than usual and found Ashley sobbing like I had never seen her before. She looked scared and in deep shock. "Honey, what happened?" I immediately thought of the kids. "Are they okay?" She looked at him with eyes full of tears. It's Grant, he's been diagnosed with a brain tumor. She fell into deeper and deeper fits of despair. He only has 6 months to live. I plopped down on the chair next to her and she put her arms around me. What are we going to do? She asked. Honey, there's nothing we can do. He can come back and live with us and we'll try to take care of him. She nodded, her tears flowing. That's what I said, but you know what a stubborn bastard he can be. He refused. Maybe you can convince him. Later I called him and offered to stay with us. No, sorry buddy, but that's not going to happen. I need to be here to finish the vineyard. There are important things I have to do. I tried to convince him otherwise, but he wasn't going to budge. We talked for a while, but I didn't know what to say. God, what can you say to a man with a death sentence hanging over him? Eventually, I happily handed the phone back to Ashley. Dinner passed in silence, neither Ashley nor I knew what to say. The next night, when Ashley handed me the phone, I waved her off, and she continued the conversation with an angry look. After hanging up, she muttered, "Damn it, why didn't you talk to him? He needs you more than ever." Because I don't know what to say to him. I think we need to go back and see if he's okay. We can't just ignore him in a difficult time. I nodded. Yeah, okay, but it'll be hard work if it's like last time. We hugged, comforting each other. It was the strangest feeling. We'd been friends for so long, we had so many common themes, but now I couldn't find the words to tell him. Regret didn't fit. When we got to the Grant's house, it was just like last time. The lawns hadn't been mowed, there was crap everywhere inside, and the pile of dirty dishes reached almost to the ceiling. Ashley was crying, and when Grant showed up from the farm, everyone was hugging each other. It was easier that way, at least. I shook the dust off the lawn mower and set about getting the lawns and grounds in order. Ashley was up to her elbows in dishwater, and Grant wandered around looking like everything was fine. He wasn't ashamed of the state of the house. That night at dinner we tried unsuccessfully to persuade him to come home with us, but he would not do it, and no amount of coercion or argument could change his mind. The next day I went down with Grant and he showed me around the vineyard, pointing out all the improvements and changes. I was able to talk to his foreman and it was clear that he was the one who had initiated all the changes and was running the farm, and Grant, though well-intentioned, was just getting in the way. The flight home passed in silence, except when Ashley stated, "Honey, you can't leave him like that. He won't be able to take care of himself, he'll be in pain. He seems to be doing fine. Unless we can prove he's not sane, there's nothing we can do. But he's out of his mind. Honey, he needs help." I was puzzled as to where this was going. Hong is his life, we just have to be there for him when he needs us. Bullshit, he needs us now. She snapped angrily. I don't understand you, he's your best friend for goodness sake, he needs you and we have to find a way to help. She leaned back in her chair and folded her arms across her chest, the way she did when she was angry. I knew from experience not to say anything. Tuesday night I came home and found that Ashley had made a huge dinner, and that night we made love passionately, after which she pressed her hot body tightly against his, snuggling as close as she could. Wednesday night it happened again, only this time we made love twice, and she was very loving afterward. Thursday night. Another repeat session. Hell, 3 nights in a row we hadn't been this amorous in a long time. Friday night was a lavish dinner again, and in bed Ashley wore us both out with her passion, and it wasn't until we were pressed against each other that I got a shock. Rob, I want us to take time off work and go and live with Grant, to help him, after all he only has a few months left. I've spoken to my manager and they've agreed to give me 6 months off, but I don't have enough vacation time so I'll have to take 1 month of unpaid leave. Stunned and confused, she asked, "What? Jesus, Ashley, is that what all this sex was about? You were just sucking up to me." She smirked slyly. Rob is our best friend and you've seen what he's like, he can't take care of himself and he has no one to lean on. Honey, it's the right thing to do, we have to help. She pressed herself tighter against me. Come on, love, you know it's the right thing to do, you've got seniority leave and we can do it. If they don't help, I'm sure he can afford a live-in CA. Re-give her. Let me make some inquiries, I'm sure we can work something out. Shaking her head, she kissed my exposed shoulder. Hon, that wouldn't be right, would it? I don't want some stranger looking after him, not when we could be doing it. What would Saskia say? No, Rob, it's our responsibility. Ash, I can't, we have too much to do at work, they want to promote me, and if I leave now, I'll be bypassed. For heaven's sake, we don't want money, we're talking about our friend. Honey doesn't expect that from us, he's a tough nut to crack, and if he gets to the stage where he can't take care of himself, we could go under. She shook her head and it was obvious she was angry. God damn it, I'm so sick of you, where did that caring and loving guy I married go? Where did this heartless shit I'm living with come from? I understand that you want to help Ash, but we can't. The next couple days were a little cold, but on the third day the passionate sex resumed, and as the weekend approached I began to grow weary. Friday night it all became clear. After we had made love and pressed against each other in post-coital bliss, she said, Honey, I've decided that if you don't want to come down and help, I'll go myself. Ash, you can't, I need you here, as you know. Bullshit, you're a big boy now, you can take care of yourself, he's dying, for God's sake, he'll be gone for good soon. Realizing I was fighting a losing battle, and somewhat agreeing that it was the right decision, I asked. So what time frame are we talking about, days or weeks? She wrapped her arms around my neck and kissed me wetly on the lips. I don't know how fast he'll start losing control of himself or how long it'll be before he can't stay home, but I'll stay until he has to go to the hospital. Jesus, Ashley, you know this could take months. She nodded. I know, dear, but what else can we do? Leaning back, I whispered. Damn, Ashley, I don't know, how soon are you coming home? All the way to the end, I guess. So you're not even coming home to visit? The sad look in her eyes told me the answer. Rob, you could come every weekend or maybe every other weekend, you don't have to leave everything to me. In the morning we made love again before I drove her to the airport. Call me. I whispered as we hugged one last time. She kissed me lightly, of course, silly, every night. With those words, she walked away. At home, I was confused. As much as I moaned about her, this would be the first time in our married life that we would be separated for a long time. I mowed the lawn and thought about what to make for dinner. At least I could eat whatever I wanted. I cracked open a beer and relaxed in the living room. Later that night, Ashley called and Grant picked up the phone in tears. Thanks, buddy, that means so much to me. Ashley came back and whispered, Rob, he was so happy when he saw me, he brightened up right away, we did everything right, he's more alive than I've seen him in a long time. What can I say other than, this is good news? The first week the calls were regular, she begged me to come over for the weekend, but because of work I couldn't do it, I had to work on Saturday. The next week she called every night, but she didn't beg me to come and visit. The next week the calls became fewer, they seemed forced, it was like she was afraid to talk to me and I got the feeling that things were not right. In the fourth week I decided I had to find out what the hell was going on. I booked a plane ticket for the weekend, but didn't say anything, I'll surprise them. It was a pleasant day in central Otago when I drove to the Grant's house. I only hoped that his condition had not deteriorated too much and that Ashley was all right. As I approached the house, I was struck by how well it looked. The gardens were tended, the lawns were mowed, everything looked tidy. Ashley had obviously been very busy. I walked in and called out loudly. Ashley, are you in here? I saw her come out of the kitchen looking completely dumbfounded. Rob. What are you doing here? Stunned by her indifference, I muttered. Lord. Do I need an excuse to visit my wife? She hesitantly came over and put her arms around me and the kiss melted all my fears away. No, of course not, you sneaky devil, but you should have called, we could have picked you up at the airport and saved on the car rental. Grant walked in from outside, his expression surprised me, he didn't look that excited to see me, although he certainly looked good, very good. Hey buddy, he said, holding out his hand to me. I pushed his hand away and we hugged the way only male friends can hug. Damn, you look good. I muttered. It's probably because of the good food. He laughed. Ash muttered, I'll make tea. I picked up my bag and headed down the hallway. I need to change, I assume we're in the main guest room as usual? Ashley and Grant looked at each other oddly as I headed down the hallway to the guest room, which was empty. no clothes, bags, or anything. This room hadn't been used in a very long time. I turned and looked back into the living room where Ash and Grant were standing side by side looking at me. Leaving my bag in the doorway, I walked back into the room and made my way to the bedroom where all of Ashley's clothes were lying around. Her bags were open and empty, her shoes were scattered like she did at home, and the bed was disheveled, not at all like Ash's bed unless it had been used recently. When I turned to walk out, Ashley was standing there looking at me. "Honey, let me explain, let's put your bag in the guest room and we can all sit down and talk." She looked nervous, anxious, and maybe even scared. I felt like I was losing consciousness, my heart was racing, and it was suddenly hard to breathe. I walked past her, pushing her aside, picking up my bag and heading into the living room with Ashley running after me. "Rob, please let me explain, please honey, stop." "Rob, you have to let me talk." I continued walking straight through the living room to my car. Ashley screamed. "Rob, please wait, don't freak out. Please stop, let's talk," she yelled angrily. "Rob, listen to me, please. For God's sake, let me explain." Grant walked over. "Buddy, let's not do anything rash." I drew back and struck wildly. In our younger days he would have beaten me to a pulp, but my blow struck him squarely on the nose, and he reeled backward, flailing his arms wildly, trying to regain his balance. Soon he was lying on the ground moaning. Ashley looked first at me, then at him, and then bent over to make sure he was okay. By then I'd already thrown my bag in the back seat and climbed in, slamming the door angrily. Ashley ran up and grabbed me. "Rob, please don't go, not like this, let's go back inside and talk." I hissed angrily, "And where would I sleep? Moreover, where would you sleep?" She wrinkled her nose painfully. "With you, silly, you're my husband." "Doesn't seem like it, does it?" I started the car, putting it in gear. "I think he's your husband now." Before pulling away, I hissed. "Ashley, I'll give you a chance. If you're home in Wellington by Monday, I'll try to forget about this madness, but if you're not there, I promise that here and now our marriage will be over and you can stay here." I pulled away, showering them both with flying rocks, and quietly cursed. They were living as husband and wife, sharing a bed and obviously having sex, for God's sake. Back at the airport, I spent a fortune to change my ticket. Back home, I realized the reality of the situation. As I said goodbye, I offered to forgive her, but as I sat in the waiting room staring into the void, I wondered if she would forgive me, if I could. Sunday afternoon I got a call. It was Ashley. "Rob, can we take a break and talk? Please give me a chance, let me explain what happened. Then explain to me why you, my wife, are having sex with another man. Tell me why you live down there as husband and wife and I live up here alone." "Honey, it's not like that." I interrupted her before she could continue. "So? You're not sleeping in the same bed?" There was a pause. "Yes, we sleep in the same bed, but it's not what you think." "Are you having sex?" There was silence. We listened to each other's breathing before she whispered hoarsely. "Yes, we're having sex, but..." I jumped up again. "So it's exactly as I thought it would be, you two living together." "Rob, let me explain, he was so lonely and so sad. You know how much he loved Saskia. I didn't come here to do this, it just happened. It started with a comforting kiss and it just got out of hand." "You can say that again." "I made you an offer, and it stands. If you're home tomorrow, I'm willing to try to forgive you." I heard her sigh. "Thanks, Rob, that's why I love you, but I can't, not now. You've seen how positive he is, now that he's got some joy in his life, I can't just walk away. Shit, love, he doesn't have long to live and then I'll come home and we can put this behind us." "I think you misunderstood me, this is a one-time only offer, Ashley, I'm not waiting, either you'll be here tomorrow or I'm filing for divorce, that's all." The sobbing began. "Rob, he has no one, we're all he has. If you're all he's got, he's dead to me." "That's not what you mean," she snapped wryly. "He's your best friend, you won't abandon him when he needs you." "Ashley, listen to me, he's already dead to me. If you're not home tomorrow, I'm filing for divorce, that's not a threat, that's a promise." "Surely our marriage means more than that? Everything we've been through and you're just going to throw away 25 years? No, not me, Ashley, it's your credit, not mine. If it ends this way, it's on your conscience. All I could hear was her sobbing. What were you thinking, Ashley? God, what the hell were you thinking? She went into full hysterics. I don't know, Rob, I just wanted to make his last days happy. I just wanted to bring some joy to his last days. Come home and we'll try to forget about it. I promise I'll try to forgive. I'm sorry, Rob, but I can't do this. I hope you'll forgive me because I love you and I can't imagine my life without you. Well, you better get used to it, because if you're not here tomorrow, we're definitely screwed. The next few days passed slowly. Work was impossible. I was a blank slate, but I struggled. Sitting at home would have been even worse. At night the house seemed cold and life seemed empty. Ashley called several times, and on one occasion handed the phone to Grant, but as soon as she heard his voice, she immediately hung up. My daughter called me to tell me how proud she was of her mom and how selfless she was to go down and care for him. God, she was comparing her to Mother Teresa or Florence freaking Nightingale. I couldn't bring myself to tell her the truth, but she didn't understand when I told her to shut up because I didn't want to hear it. But that wasn't the only thing she wanted to tell me. She had another surprise. She was getting engaged and wanted to know if we could get into her party, which was coming up in a month. I, of course, agreed and offered to pay, which made her very happy. What didn't make her happy, though, was when she asked what I thought about spending it at Grant's Vineyard. Her damn mother must have already talked to her and made that suggestion, to which I snapped back. Sylvie, the answer is no. I'll find a better place. She looked confused. Why, Daddy, what could be better? It would be perfect. I exploded with anger. Sylvie, if you keep him there, I won't attend and I won't pay. She looked surprised. But it was Mom's idea. She said it was so Uncle Grant could be there. Do what you like, Sylvie, but keep him here, and you'll do it without me. There was a pause while she tried to gather her thoughts. She closed the phone, saying she'd talk to her mom and get back to me. Sure enough, not an hour later, Ashley called. Sweet Sylvie just called and said something stupid about you not wanting to have her engagement party here. Exactly. I spat out. She sighed. Honey, please don't be so difficult. It makes sense to have her party here. Grant is getting increasingly ill and won't be able to come. Please, I'm begging you, don't make it harder than it has to be. Damn it, Ashley, I stand by my opinion. If she decides to listen to you, I won't be there, and what's more, I won't be paying. Sweet Grant has already offered to pay for his gift. It won't cost a dime if we spend it here. I'm sorry, but if you want me to attend, it's not going to happen, and he won't pay for my daughter's engagement party. Tell him to fuck off. Thankfully, after numerous phone calls, my daughter realized something was going on and reluctantly agreed to spend it elsewhere. I managed to find a place at Hamner Springs through an old rugby buddy. Sylvie was as excited as I was when I told her the news. It wasn't going to be cheap, but I didn't care. This was the push I needed to start the divorce process. 2 weeks later, the divorce papers were ready and filed with the court. Then we had to wait for Ashley's response. The papers were sent by registered mail, and if she didn't mind, all she had to do was sign them and return them, and then they were filed. What the hell? That was all I heard when I picked up the phone. Hey Ashley, it's nice to hear your voice. Rob, what the hell is going on? It's simple, Ashley, I assume you're talking about a divorce. If you sign the papers and mail them in, we can file the papers and in 6 months everything will be finalized. Rob, no. Do I have to beg? Please don't do this, we can get through this. Once I get home you'll see it's nothing. For God's sake, Ashley, don't be ridiculous. I'm not going to wait for you to play happy home with a jerk. All I want is for you to sign the papers so we can both move on. No, I refuse. I don't need it. I won't sign. Then send them back with a signature saying you're contesting the decision, and either way by the end of the month we'll part ways legally. Honey, take your time. Sylvie's engagement is in 6 weeks. Can't we wait at least until then? No, I'm not waiting. Everything is filed in court. Whether you contest or not, we will be legally separated. You can fight for a divorce, but when the judge finds out you've been living with another man for 3 months, I don't think you stand a chance. I'm not living with him, I'm caring for a dying friend. Caregiving doesn't require sharing a bed or sex.
God, you can be a nasty bastard whenever you want.
I spent most of my free time helping to plan Sylvia's engagement party, and everything was going well until she sent me the guest list and Grant's name wasn't on it. This caused another unpleasant phone call when I informed her that he wasn't invited. She burst into tears as I laid out my rules.
This sparked another unpleasant conversation between Ashley and me.
She accused me of being malicious, reminding me that Grant was Sylvie's godfather and had a right to be there.
That was the final straw for me, and I roared.
No, as long as he's fucking you, he has no right. The engagement party was a great success for everyone except Ashley. She came, but alone. We sat at opposite ends of the table for most of the evening. When the party atmosphere got serious and the orchestra started playing, Sylvie nudged me. Dad, I don't know what's going on between you and Mom, but tonight you have to put that aside. I'm begging you, don't ruin my party. I put my arms around her and kissed her. It's okay, sweetie, I'll behave. Alright, then, go and dance with Mama. She looks as if she was bearing the weight of the world. She says poor old Uncle Grant is very ill. I nudged her and walked across the room, and it felt like thousands of eyes were watching me. I took her hand and led her to the dance floor. As we glided serenely across, she pressed herself against me. Oh my God, Rob, it feels so good to be in your arms. Thank you for asking me to dance.
Well, how are you doing?
I asked. Okay, I guess, but Grant.
I interrupted her. I don't want to hear about him. I don't even want to hear his name.
She tensed when she heard my rant, but as we swam on, she clung to me again, and we continued on our way in silence. After a few songs, she sighed. Rob, I want to talk to you. We need to talk to defuse the situation. Not today, Sylvie's already sassed me, but if you're still here tomorrow, maybe we can find a secluded spot.
She agreed.
God, it felt so good to hold her in his arms.
Where are you staying tonight?
I glanced at her quickly. I'm staying at the Royal in town.
I could come over and spend the night with you.
She whispered, sinking her teeth into my ear. No thanks, Ashley, I don't sleep with other men's wives. Rob, please don't start a fight. Wouldn't it be nice to spend the night together? I love you and want you.
What's the matter? Is Grant too sick to lift him?
She pushed me away. You nasty bastard, I just wanted to spend time with you, but if you must know, Grant only has a few weeks left. Tell me where he will be buried so I can come and piss on his grave. The cold, angry look she gave me then could have frozen the flames of hell. As promised, we met at the pub the next day. When she walked in, I was already waiting for her with a glass of wine. I didn't get up when she came to the table.
What do you want to talk to Ashley about?
As I said last night, Grant will be leaving in a week or two, and I wanted to ask you to go see him.
He wants to talk to you.
Yeah,
and which bedroom am I going to live in?
Rob, please come, it's very important, you're his best friend.
No, Ashley, he gave up that right the night he shared your bed. He is no longer my friend and I will not be seeing him.
You can tell him for me that I hope for his painful death, slow and agonizing, to make up for my pain over the last 6 months. She frowned and her whole face became a scowl. Please, Rob, give him a chance, he needs to talk to you.
Well, I don't want to hear anything from him. Look, let's get on with the important business.
I want to put the house on the market. We'll both need somewhere to live. Honey, this is part of what Grant wants to talk to you about. Please come and spend a few days in the vineyard and hear what he has to say.
All I need is your agreement to sell.
If you think you can buy my share, then we can negotiate, but if you can't find the money, then we'll have to sell. I've brought in an agent and he's ready to put it up for sale. Rob, we shouldn't do this, at least give me a chance to make things right, give me a chance to change your mind. We can't do that if we live apart. I'm sorry, Ashley, but I gave you a chance and you turned your back on it. You know I couldn't leave him like that, honey. He had a smile on his face, he was enjoying his last days and he's going to die soon. Just give us a chance. See if I can change your mind, or if you realize you can't forgive me, we can at least say we tried, but it seems you just gave up on me. Gritting my teeth, I muttered, should I sell the house or do you want it? In desperation, she slammed her hands on the table, attracting astonished looks from everyone present.
Sell the damn thing. If you're willing to give it up just like that, then sell it. I nodded. Okay, I'll tell the agents we're getting started and I'll mail you the paperwork. As the tears began to drip, she wheezed. Do you still love me? Our marriage was so perfect and I never doubted your love. Even during all of this, I always thought you still loved me. I love you, and I probably always will, but you chose to give that love to another man. I'm sorry, Ashley, but it's up to you. Why can't we try to fight for our marriage? If you really love me like you say you do, why can't we try? Her hand clenched tighter around mine. Please, Rob, think about the kids. What will they say? What will we even say to them? I don't know about you, but I'm going to tell them the truth. She threw my hand away like a hot potato. No, Rob, please, not this, they'll hate me. I won't lie for you, Ashley, you made your bed, now sleep in it. I was surprised at how quickly the house sold, but there was another shock waiting for me. The Ministry of Works was being privatized, and as part of this transition, we employees were offered voluntary redundancy. The payout was very tempting. After working in the ministry for so many years, I would receive more than $500,000, and with the proceeds from the sale of the house I could retire on a semi-retirement pension. Grant died the day after the sale. My son asked if we could go to the funeral together and was puzzled when I told him I wasn't going. Dad, what the hell is going on? Things have gotten weird since Mom left to take care of him. Okay, son, it's true, your mother and Grant had an affair. She lived with him as husband and wife, so I'm not going. Damn it, Dad, are you sure? Yes, I caught them doing it. Well, thank you for at least being honest. What do you want me to do? Son, this argument is not yours, do what your conscience tells you to do. My daughter begged me to leave and it was hard for me to talk about what I had discussed with Clive, but I didn't expect her anger. Dad, you have to leave, Mom is falling apart, she's your wife. She became hysterical when I said, not for long. Ashley called pleadingly and tearfully. Rob, you cruel heartless bastard, why did you tell the kids? They were mad at me for not going to the funeral, and I explained why. Bloody hell, they hate me now, Sylvie shouted at me. Clive called me some really hurtful names. Sorry, Ash, but you made your bed, now lie in it. She sobbed softly. At least come to the funeral, please, you have to come, I can't go through this without you. My response was short. Tough. Clive surprised me by not doing well, and apparently he had a shouting match with his mother and sister. After selling my house, I had no place to live, so I started looking for a new place to live. I needed a small house on the Kapiti coast. While Ashley was at Grant's funeral, I signed the papers. I moved in the following week. Because it was a vacation home and the fact that it was selling for cash and was vacant, I was able to move right in. One of the lawyers in town asked me to attend the reading of his will, but I declined. However, he said, Mr. Thomas, it is in your interest to be present at the reading, you have been bequeathed quite a large sum of money. I laughed out loud. I don't need his money, I'm not his pimp. Without waiting for the conversation to continue, I hung up. But thinking about it made me want to hurt him, and the only thing I could think of was to donate it to the church. Grant was a strict atheist, and I knew he wouldn't like that. Quickly calling the lawyers back, I arranged for the money bequeathed to me to be donated in his name to a local church. The lawyer didn't care, but I knew someone who would agree. It wasn't long before Ashley chimed in, angry and sputtering. Why, Rob? You know how he is about religion, he'd be mad as hell if he found out why you didn't just give them away. We could have used them on the vineyard or Glenn could have used them. Tough shit, I growled and hung up. Clive came to help me move into my new house and surprised me by bringing his girlfriend Alicia, a very pretty girl. We had a great weekend swimming and grilling kebabs. I was just amazed at his choice of girlfriend. Unlike some of the bimbos he'd been hanging out with, she was very nice, had brains, and we got along like a house on fire. In such a situation, you can go two ways, wallow in pity and become embittered and twisted, or you can go on with your life. I chose the latter, focusing on living the good life. Working in a spare bedroom, I started organizing my business as a consulting engineer. It was easy enough to find a job. I wasn't the only engineer who had been made redundant, and this created a gap that I was happy to fill, earning more than double my previous rate. Within a month, I had more work than I could handle. Life was getting easier and the oppressive anger was fading away.
A rather insistent knock on the front door tore me away from the rugby game I was watching on TV. When I opened the door, Ashley stood on the doorstep, looking more radiant and beautiful than I remembered.
"Can I come in?" she asked.
I swung the door open. I was drinking a beer while watching the game and eating sandwiches for lunch.
"What do you need, Ashley?"
"I want to talk to see if we can somehow get past the anger and bitterness. Rob, I still love you and want to be in your life." Looking into her deep green eyes, all I saw was pain.
"I don't think so, Ash.
I already offered you a chance at redemption, but you turned it down."
"What could I do? He was dying. Our best friend in the whole world was dying."
"I thought that when you calmed down, you'd realize that it was all nothing, that we could get through this."
"Jesus, Rob, if you had gone there with me from the beginning like I asked you to, this wouldn't have happened."
"Yes, and if you had stayed with me like I asked, that wouldn't have happened either."
She sighed. "Rob was our friend."
"It just makes it worse. Why can't you understand that? For heaven's sake, how would you feel if I went off with your sister and had a 6-month affair?"
"How would you feel about that?" "Honey, I know it was wrong. I'm not being defensive."
"I can see the pain in your eyes. I hurt you and I'm sorry, but we can get past this. We can get back on track. Just give me a chance and I'll prove it to you. I'll do whatever it takes to make it up to you." As the tears rolled down her beautiful cheeks, I took a towel and wiped her eyes.
"Ash, I'm not sure I can do this. I'm just now starting to get my life in order. We just need to move on."
"No, please let me prove it. What are we losing?"
"We can try again and see if we succeed. If not, what do we have to lose?" Sinking down on the couch, I sighed. "Ash, I can't do this. I really can't."
She pounced on me like a tiger on a wounded gazelle, her arms wrapped around my neck and her lips on mine in a deep, passionate kiss.
It was frenetic and passionate, and it was over in just a few short moments.
All my arguments disappeared and we lay together, her head resting on my shoulder.
"See, sweetheart, we can do this. I'll make you forget." With trepidation, I asked. "Okay, and how do you see this working?"
Propping herself up on her elbow, she smiled.
"Love, that's exactly what Grant wanted to talk to you about before he died. He wants you to take over the vineyard. God, you helped him build it, and you love it there. Isn't it beautiful?"
I was stunned by her remark and how casually she introduced his name into the conversation.
"No, actually, that would be far from ideal. Grant is dead and buried, and I like that."
"I told you I'd never set foot in this place again, and damn it, I meant it. To be honest, this will be our life. I'd built up a good clientele and my consulting business is doing very well. I'm willing to give it a try, but I'm not promising anything." She rolled over onto her back and stared up at the ceiling.
"Love, it was his dying wish for you to take over. It was supposed to be his gift to us. To hell with him and the ground he's buried in." "The answer is no."
"I don't want his money or his house." I heard her snort, trying to hold back tears.
"You're not even going to think about it, are you?"
"No chance, Ash. If you're serious about giving it a try, I'm willing to give it a try, but it'll be a fresh start here, a new home, new friends, and a new job." Morning came all too quickly. I savored her hot body pressed against me. When I opened my eyes, Ash was already awake, though she was just lying there, staring at the ceiling.
I looked up at her and asked, "Well, what are we doing?"
She nodded slowly. "Rob, I want this more than anything. I want us to be husband and wife again, and if that means living here, then that's what we'll do."
We sealed it with a kiss. I pulled the blankets off me. "Okay, let's go for a walk on the beach."
It was a beautiful bright sunny morning and we walked as one along the beach, the waves crashing against the shore, singing gentle serenades.
The weekend went by in a flash.
Ash flew to Otago to pick up her stuff and I went back to work. She returned on Wednesday with far less baggage than I expected.
We started living.
It wasn't easy, intense, and we lived on the edge, both of us choosing our words carefully. Ash, though living with me, was still immersed in the work of running the vineyard.
Glenn wanted nothing to do with it.
He was glad when his father left half of the vineyard to Ashley. It meant he could continue his education, leaving it in her hands. It sounds simple, but it pissed me off. I was tired of listening to her manage various aspects of the company over the phone. I could see that she was still entrenched and it didn't take her long to start her soft sells. The opportunity to get me back there was presented to her by Sylvie, whose wedding was coming up, and Ashley was determined to spend it in the vineyard, and that was the cause of our first argument. When she brought it up, I flinched and quickly whispered, "No way, Ash, that's not going to happen. Darling, don't rush into a decision, it will save us a fortune, we all love this place, especially Sylvie, she loves it. She doesn't know, she hasn't been there in years, and it won't be the same without Saskia. Rob came and stayed with me and Grant before he died. She adored him, they were close, and she loves the vineyard." "What?" I roared. "She stayed. With you there." "With Grant?" She nodded slowly, unable to bear my gaze. "So where did you sleep while she was there?" She reached over to me, grabbing my hand. "Honey, she already knows I slept with Grant." I brushed her hand away. "God, could you have humiliated me anymore? For Christ's sake, Ash, with our daughter under the same roof." "Shit." Rob already knew, there was no point in lying. So all that nonsense, when I told her. She already knew? "Honey, she was just upset, she didn't want us to break up. But she was happy to see her mother fucking another guy, damn it. I'll tell you this, that damn wedding isn't going to happen there, and I don't care how much you scream and yell, it's not going to happen. Rob, you're overreacting, Grant is dead and this place belongs to us, well, us and Glenn. It's free, it's going to be fantastic." "Damn unlikely, I've already told you I'll never set foot in this place. I'll start looking for another place. You'll break her heart if you do that." "Yeah, so be it, I don't care." "Think carefully, Rob, you could lose your daughter forever, is it worth it?" "Very simply, the answer is yes. You can't change my mind." This put her on the offensive. At first it was sex and lots of sex. Sylvie tried to get me to change my mind with tears and guilt, Ash with sex. When that didn't work, she sided with Sylvie and went on the offensive, but I held on and slowly but surely Sylvie saw the arguments from my side. I think Clive might have pushed her too. We ended up having our wedding at Marlborough Sounds and it was amazing. Even Ashley couldn't find a downside. She tried to pay for some of the expenses out of Grant's leftover money, but I angrily refused, and to her credit, Ash didn't insist. After the wedding everything went back to normal, except I had more work than ever. Ashley started to get nervous. I think she thought I would come around to her way of thinking and move in with her, but with my business growing every day and the amount of work I was picking up, she saw her dream fade away. Eventually she realized that it just wasn't going to happen. We tried, we really tried, but our hearts were never in it. We both felt that even with the love we shared, it wasn't going to work out. She wanted to live on the vineyard, and as far as I was concerned, that wasn't going to happen. I came home from work late one night and saw her packing. When I interrupted her, she whispered, "I'm sorry, Rob, but this isn't working, is it?" I shrugged. "No, I guess not." She flew off the next day, and I wish I could say I missed her, but I actually felt good that the tension was gone. I could breathe and not worry about saying the wrong thing. Yes, I missed the sex and the intimacy, the warm body to cuddle with at night. I put her out of my mind, she called occasionally, but mostly she was gone. I focused on the house. I added another floor with a huge deck to maximize the ocean view. I took on an assistant in the office, a single mom from the next street over, and she had a 14-year-old son. Her husband had left her 6 years earlier, and she had struggled to make her way in the world. She was a godsend in the office. Even though I didn't need her full-time, I saw that she needed the money, so I moved her to full-time so she could have an income. Her son Alex spent some time at home when Royson was late at work, and we developed a relationship. He wasn't dumb, but he was having trouble in school, so when I saw him doing his homework, I started helping him, tutoring him. Royson offered to work overtime for free in exchange for tutoring, but I was just happy to help. Royson was a very attractive woman, 15 years younger than me, so I didn't see any chance of an affair, figuring there was no way she'd be interested in an old fart like me, especially since I'd become a bit of a workaholic, but I was wrong, and one night when she was working late and I was helping Alec with math, I asked if they wanted to stay for dinner. That dinner became a regular thing, everyone took turns cooking. It wasn't an explosion, it was a gradual development. One night Alec left to go to his buddy's house, but Royson stayed for dinner anyway, and dinner turned into a few drinks. They sat together on a chaise lounge, watching the ocean, then moved on to kissing, and then to sex. A wonderful, passion-filled session of very tumultuous lovemaking.
Royson and I started dating.
Clive, my son, was the first to meet her when he and Alicia, his girlfriend, came to visit for the Queen's birthday weekend. They hadn't just come to visit, but to announce their engagement. It had been a fun weekend, the weather had been great, Clive and Alicia had gotten along great with Royson, and they loved the house.
The renovations won them over. During the barbecue dinner, Alicia asked, "Is it okay if we have our wedding here?" I laughed. "Okay. That would be damn near perfect." She hugged me.
"Thank you, my parents don't have much money and I know they are worried about how they are going to pay for our wedding." "Nonsense, Alicia, I would be honored to act as host."
Clive hugged me tightly. "Thanks, Dad. Would you mind if Mom was here?" Ashley hadn't been impressed when Clive had told her the news.
She tried to talk him into hosting the gala at the vineyard, offering to pay for it, but he'd steadfastly refused. Once the decision was made, Royson and Alicia, who were already on friendly terms, began to work out the details. It was no surprise to me when Ashley called me and asked me who Royson was. When I told her she was my girlfriend, she got very quiet and thoughtful and then complained. "Rob, she's cutting me out of everything. I want to help, but every time I talk to Clive, he says that Royson is already on it.
There's nothing for me to do." "Well then, relax, go ahead and just enjoy yourself."
"This is my son Rob, and I want to help. If you would just talk to them, let me help, or let me pay for something." Promising to talk to Clive, I hung up the phone and felt her pain. Clive and Ashley's relationship was strained to the breaking point, and I felt sorry for her. When I spoke to him, he promised to find something. Royson was the hardest to deal with. She ruthlessly threw herself into the case and was a little taken aback when I asked her to include Ashley. She didn't resist, but I could sense she wasn't happy. The wedding weekend came and Ashley showed up with Sylvie and her husband. They arrived together and stayed at the same hotel. It seemed that the battle lines had already been drawn. Royson, for her part, had spent hours getting ready for their arrival, and I must say, she looked very sexy. When I introduced them, they were very tense and released their claws. It was obvious that they were not going to be friends, let alone get along together. Sylvie, of course, sided with her mother. The peacemakers turned out to be Clive and Alicia, their relationship with Royson already strengthened. The first night Ashley arrived gave me a certain pleasure. I offered to let her stay, but she decided to rent a hotel. While I gave her a tour, showing her the new addition and improvements, she walked into the master bedroom. I heard her sigh heavily, and I wasn't sure if it was because of the views of the coast or because Royson had made sure her clothes and underwear were strewn everywhere and the bed was in proper condition. I saw Ash flinch and her gaze was fixed on the sexy black negligee lying on the bed. Yeah, it definitely wasn't a view. Ashley couldn't get out of there fast enough. After the wedding, when Clive and Sylvie left, I arranged for Ashley to come over for dinner. We had a lot to talk about. We had a quick dinner on the deck, and it was a perfect evening. The sun was setting over the horizon, there was no wind, just a gorgeous purple evening. After the meal, she cast me a cold glance. "I suppose that's final, you're not coming down to the vineyard, are you?" I laughed. "No, Ash, I never was. I'm sorry things turned out this way." She nodded, "Not as sorry as I am. Rob, I can't apologize enough for what happened. I know you won't believe me, but I still love you. I can't imagine my life without you. Until this weekend I was hoping that you would change your mind, that you would realize that we could still make it work. We had too much love to just throw it away. I was hoping we could fall in love with each other all over again and live out our days on the vineyard. Ash, I still love you, I will always have feelings for you, we've had 25 years of shared memories and good times. We'll always have them. The bad part is that we tried and it didn't work out." "Yes, but Rob, we've tried here, and this isn't home for me, this place isn't for us. Why don't we try it at the vineyard? If you'll put aside your anger, come and try it. Rob, you know how much you loved it there, and you could do it your way."
Imagine, you could make it your own, and that's what Grant wanted. Everything was going well until the last moment. I laughed. It was so comical. You never learned, Ash. I don't care about Grant. He was dead to me long before he was put in the ground. But why can't we try? I've moved on. I gave you many chances, Ash. I begged you to come home, but you chose him over me.
I have a girlfriend now and she means a lot to me. That weekend I got there, and if you had come home then we could have gotten over it, but not now. Rob, it's just sex, just 6 months out of our lives, and yet we could have been together for the rest of our lives. We could have grown old together. It's not just about sex, Ashley, it's about lying. If I hadn't gone there that weekend, I never would have known. You would have kept me in the dark. I didn't mean to hurt you, God. I thought about how to tell you. Grant begged me to confess, but I didn't mean to hurt you. Well, you came at this from the wrong angle, sorry, Ashel. Why, but it's over. I have here a letter from Grant. May I give it to you? He wanted you to read it? Tear it up, Ashley. I will keep it and hope that one day you can forgive us. When you are ready, I will bring it to you. Keep it, I don't need it. I'm sorry for everything, Rob. I love you. It's too late, Ash. Have a happy life.